Hey there. So my next guest is working to bring esports into a country that it's still finding its feet. And so he's working hard. He's putting together partnerships, not just in his own country, but across the whole continent. And he's also making partnerships around the world to be able to bring them to Africa. And so it's incredible. This interview is so fantastic because he's working so hard to bring esports into a place that not many people consider as a place that you would want to go for it. So I know you guys are going to love this episode. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Sayo Owolabi. Hey, Sayo, how's it going?
Hi, Dr. Bradford. How are you doing? I'm good.
I am fantastic. It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
Yeah, beautiful day here. I know we've talked about the challenges before now, but hey, we're pulling through. We're keeping hope alive and moving on with the good work we're doing here.
Fantastic. So, Sayo, where are you from at the moment?
Lagos, Nigeria. That's Nigerian, arguably Africa's largest commercial city. And it's a beautiful place with a population of about 20 to 22 million people. And that's where I operate my business from.
Fantastic. Okay, so Sayo, I like to get the show started just right into it. So why don't you go ahead and begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, my name is Sayo Owolabi, born over 30 decades ago. 30 decades and a half actually. So I'm nearing my 40s in a few years' time. And a lawyer by training, called to the Nigerian bar 13 years ago, but I've never practiced as a legal practitioner. I've been into the media since I left school. Even before I left school, I was doing the media, then fully into sports media 10 years ago. Started out in sports media marketing, working with a TV station, then a radio station before I set up my own organization where I do content for brands, multinationals, and several other brands here in Nigeria. We do radio content for them, also create events and manage it for them also. In 2019, I merged my organization with my current role, which is Engineering Communications, where I'm the Chief Innovations Officer and also a partner in the business. And that's where I oversee the media properties, the sports initiatives, and the government relations arm of the business because of my legal background. And in March 2020, with the advent of COVID, it was imminent to look into something else beyond traditional sports, which I've done for over 10 years. And esports beckoned. And that's something I've had in the background for a while. I've done bits and pieces, but not professionally in esports. And in March 2020, it led to the founding of the Lagos Esports Forum, full service esports organization, which I founded with a couple of other friends, and we operate in the African space. Actually, we started out thinking would influence Lagos, but at the moment we actually are influencing Africa and influencing Nigeria, and by extension Africa, with the level of things we've done. We have a flagship monthly esports conversation. It's a webinar which has had speakers from different continents. About 10 of them have spoken at the 5 editions we've had. We also have a mobile game tournament which is going on. We had the first edition in August and the second edition going on at the moment this October. And so yeah, Lagos Esports Forum on that side. And just recently, just 2 weeks ago, I was appointed onto the board of the Esports World Federation, which is based in the Philippines, to oversee as the senior advisor for Africa. So I'm overseeing the African organization under that body. That's the Organization of African Esports. And I'm also serving on the board to advise on development of the Africa ecosystem and chairing the Media Portal Commission of the Esports World Federation, which is based in Philippines. So I hope I haven't said too much, but that in summary is Sayo Owolabi.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. I cannot wait to dig into this. But before
Yes.
I do, if you've watched my show, and I know you have because you mentioned before we got
Yes,
on
I
here that you
have.
have seen
Yes, I
this,
have.
I start every interview with a question. I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you?
That's a difficult question because I would assume being weird here would be in terms of in relations to gaming or esports. So I'd say I'm in between. I know when to switch off and I know when to switch on. So I'd say I'm on a 5. So not entirely weird because I know when to put a stop to it, and you understand. I'm sure you understand what I mean. Some people can go playing a game for hours. I know when to stop and concentrate on other things from there. So yeah, I'd say I'm just in between. 5 is okay for me.
Beautiful. That's my answer too.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the gamerpreneur. So I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
That was 2000, before 2000. No, after 2000. That was about 2001 or even before then. I think it was in the late 90s when my younger brother used to come home with his friend's Nintendo 64, which we call N64 around here. And we had it for days. It was almost like the guy whose parents could afford to buy it for him at that time didn't just like playing games. And we were available. We were 4 guys. I have 3 other brothers, so we're available to play the game. So my brother just takes it off and brings it home. We have it for weeks. We return it to him to have it for a few days. Then we have it back. So it was a very funny scenario, and that was exactly where my love for gaming in terms of console came from. But before that time, in the early 2000s, again, we were playing games. Car racing was of interest to us, so we used to play it on the PC and on the phone. So yes, it was around that time. Say that's about 20, 21 years ago or thereabout.
Beautiful. All right. What do you
Yeah,
play today, if anything?
it's FIFA. Naturally, because our love for football in Africa is I can proudly say second to none. We love football in Africa. It's the biggest sport, and naturally, for most gamers, you discover that they start out with FIFA and then maybe pick other interests in terms of fighting games or one of the most recent multiplayer online battle titles. So yeah, FIFA for me is
Okay.
what I play at the moment.
Wonderful. How do you feel about FIFA 2021 not making any changes?
Interestingly, I've not tried it out. I've only read the reviews. I'm looking to try it out in a few days, if not for the situation we discussed about earlier on happening around the country at the moment. I have someone who's promised to bring it along for me. But reading from the the reviews, I think it's a near brilliant idea because the truth is, I was involved with I was so involved with FIFA 19 into a late period before I got to play FIFA 20. And by the time I was playing FIFA 20, I was being whooped day in, day out by a friend whom I play with. And that's because the changes were way off the radar. Defending was terrible for me, and I couldn't master it within the space of time when we got to play. So if they leave FIFA 20 the way it is, which I'm still getting grasp of, then it's fantastic for me to enjoy my FIFA 21 like that. Seriously. So if it's a personal thing, other people can want them to change things. But for me, it's fantastic because I'm just getting a grip of FIFA 21. You can now imagine me having to reorientate myself to learn the changes in FIFA 20, then learn to the changes in FIFA 21. It would have been very difficult. So yes, I'm cool with it like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of last gaming question, then we're going to get over to the esports side. But if you had to pick one game as your all-time favorite, which one is it?
It's Pro Evo.
Which one?
PS. Pro Evo Soccer. PES.
Okay, got it.
Pro Evolution Soccer. PES.
Which
Konami
year?
PES. It's Konami's PES because it will be, I think that was 2014, sometime in 2014. Because I really enjoyed it, and it's strange that I haven't played PES in 2 years or so, but sincerely, I'm looking to go back to playing it because it was just everything. It was just ideal for me. And when so many people, because more people play FIFA around here, when so many people say, "Oh, you're playing PES, it's too fake and it's all that," I tell them, "No, I just feel it's ideal and it's a personal thing for me." So that was like my all-time favorite game, sincerely.
I
That's it.
love it. All
PES,
right, maybe
PES
maybe
24.
when I get to 2020 FIFA 2021, we can play together sometime because I've
Oh yes, oh
it's
yes,
been a few years since I played
yeah.
FIFA. I think the last one I bought was 2014, but
Oh,
the
okay.
2010 edition when I was in law school, I basically didn't do anything but play FIFA.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So we have a game on our hands.
That's right. All right. Okay, so Shayo, let's get over to the preneur part.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is your day-to-day like? What is your professional background? No, you already told me all that. No, no. What is your day-to-day like over at the Lagos Esports Foundation? What do you do?
Well, at the Lagos Esports Forum, like I said, we're full
Or
service esports organization, and what we do is to try to connect gamers with opportunities. So it's maybe education. Our objectives are education, engagement, and empowerment. So we believe that because it's still at the nascent stage in Africa and in Nigeria, especially, gaming education is primary, is important. So at the moment, that's why we created the esports conversation, which has a flavor of informal education. And if people come on board and talk to us about marketing, about how to get into esports, about how to run an esports organization, and so many other things like that. So education for us is key. So at the moment, we're looking to get gamers opportunities in education and, of course, in the real action, which is getting to play a tournament. The first edition of our tournament, the mobile game tournament, was just casual games. By the time we're having the second edition now, we introduced the Call of Duty mobile to it, which took it from being just casual games, Ludo King, 8 Ball Pool, to now playing core games which are available on mobile. So that is an engagement objective. We're engaging them with that. And ultimately, they get rewarded in cash prizes and other prizes, which is a form of empowerment that makes them see that, oh, we can actually, on a large scale, form a career with this. So that's on one side. On another side, we have brands who are looking to get into esports, though still very, very difficult for us to sell this huge market to them. We see a huge market on the international scene, but convincing the brands here has been a bit of a challenge, but we're not relenting. And that's why we've had some brands come on board for the first and now this second edition. And we're looking to, them coming on board in future also. So we have opportunities we're creating for brands. For example, we have an esports corporate esports championships in sometime later this year. We're looking at December for that, which would help the organizations themselves see that your staff actually are gamers too, and there's actually a bigger community than maybe 10, 15, 20 of your staff who get to play these games, which means there's an ecosystem for it. There's a community of gamers all over. So that's on one side. Then on the other side, we have affiliations. The Lagos Esports Forum is a member of the Global Esports Federation. So we have our responsibility also to them. We have the Global Esports Events portfolio, which has been put out in the public space. And we're planning at the moment the regional tournament for Africa at the moment. And that would involve us rallying the whole of Africa to play in that tournament, to be powered by us on behalf of the Global Esports Forum. So yes, it's a full operations. And going into 2021, we have a couple of plans, like the Lagos Esports Tour. We have the Lagos Tertiary Institution Games virtual, which we're also planning, and some other things, which I'm sure we'll get to relate with you much later.
Beautiful. Okay, so let me take the position of the brands, because you said it's kind of difficult to get the brands on board. What's the market like there in the gaming space, the esports space? Is like how many people play in not just Nigeria but in also all of Africa?
Oh, well, it's a huge number. The truth is, we may not be able to put numbers because it's only maybe in South Africa, Morocco, that have core statistics. But I was looking at the statistics by some online platform. I'm trying to remember. It's not Newzoo. There's another platform that created stats for mobile gamers in Nigeria alone, and the numbers were around 50 million. Now the truth is, that's a huge number. But if there are no activities to document that data, then there will be no proof. So that's why we created our tournament. And the first time we did it, because we were just introducing something new, we were the first to create a mobile game tournament. We had about 250, very small number, registered participants. By the time we're doing this second one, we had over 500. So it means there's a progression and we can grow with it. So yes, there are gamers, but there is nothing that is aggregating them, which is where we step in. That space is where we are stepping in to create aggregators that will bring about data, that will bring about opportunities for brands to see what they are buying into. And of course, ultimately opportunities that would open our market to the international market. And they will see that stuff's happening in Nigeria, stuff's happening in Lagos. With our numbers, look at our population, 22 million is more than half of the countries, almost half of the countries in Africa, and some countries, across the world also. So it means we have the numbers. We only need an aggregator. We need something to accelerate the growth that we're working towards. And then we'll be able to say, oh, this is actually the level we are, and this is the level we can take things if we get the right support.
Okay, fantastic. And I know you've been doing this since March, you said. So yes. How is that data aggregating going? What kinds of numbers are you realizing here?
That's exactly what I'm saying. We have, like I said, the gamers, the first edition were, well over 250 participants. Now in the second edition, we had over 500 participants. Looking at metrics, even metrics on social media, because what we did is create an hashtag. So we will be able to track conversations, impressions, and all that on social media. We had, for the first edition, we had over 3.5 million in impressions alone. And that was for a month tournament. And engagements were well over 6,000. Which means retweets, which means comments, which means likes. So it goes to show that we aroused an interest during the first edition, and we will not be surprised because we have more hands now, we have more games on the table now, if that is grown. So apart from data in terms of gamers, we're also looking at data in terms of traction on social media. And that we know is huge for some brands to say, okay, we can create a conversation on social media around this. Unfortunately, because it's not a sponsored show, I can't mention the brands we had on the tournament, but we had the tournament, the two brands, the first edition, who we had hashtags for, and they enjoyed the benefits of having the hashtag tied to the tournament in them being on the sponsorship belt for the tournament. So it was a big one, and I'm talking about the multinational now. One of them is actually multinational. So it's a traction that we give and offer. So the data can be in terms of gamers, which is growing. And also on the other side, it comes in the form of traction in the media, social media and all that.
Beautiful. Okay, I want to talk more about you for a second. So you're the Chief Innovation Officer, you said.
Yes, at Engineering Communications.
Wonderful. So what makes you good at that job? What part of my mission here is to show other gamers that they may be able to have your job someday. So what makes you good at what you do that allows you to do this position?
Oh, well, the thing that makes me good is the innovation itself. I don't think conventional, and that's the truth. That's why while I was studying law, I was publishing a magazine, and people were wondering, how does that even work? So for me, I've never been confined with, and maybe that's why I couldn't fit into the legal profession, because I've never been confined by, in quotes, rules. I'm not lawless.
You and I would get along really good. I used to be an attorney too.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm sure you can reason the way I reason. I'm really not one to be confined to a way, to a routine, and that's why while on air I don't do scripts. Strangely, I don't do scripts when because while I was working at the radio station, I was made to read the news. When it is scripted, I usually bungle it. But if I need to talk from here, which I believe means it's coming from my heart, then I really deliver and I get to talk. But when you script me out, I really don't. You won't get the best out of me. So that's what makes me good in my job as the Chief Innovations Officer. And that's why I was able to create the Lagos Esports Forum, which is an initiative of the Engineering Communications, to say, hey guys, business is going down. Things are not going the way we want them to go. This is another vista we can open with the Lagos Esports Forum, which is tied to Engineering Communications at the moment, but we can decide to pull it out and stand alone as on its own. But hey, at the moment, it's still tied to that. And that's part of innovations I'm talking about.
Okay, fantastic. If you could go back, 10 years, you said, since you graduated law school, roughly? Okay.
No, 13 years. 13, actually. but I started out in sports 10 years
Yes.
ago.
So if you could go back in time and you could talk to little Sayo, and he was just getting out of law school, and you could tell him everything that's going to happen over the next decade of his life, but here's the one thing he needs to know. What is that one thing?
That one thing would be for him to network more. That would be it. Because I think I lost a bit of focus in the place of networking, which would have actually accelerated my career or my moves in faster than it is now. And that's because I usually leave it to others. So if I have team members, I say, oh, you keep track of this person or this particular bit of business. But I think if I had done some of them myself, I probably would be holding on to them right now. So yes, I think that would be my message to him, that don't lose this person, don't lose this brand, don't lose this business, or don't lose contact with this particular organization. And that would have gone a long way to accelerate progress and development for me.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, do you have any advice for anybody who wants to get into maybe the marketing side or into the esports side? Just generally, do you have any advice for anybody out there?
Believe in yourself, believe in your product. You discover that before we came into the game in Nigeria, I mean the esports space, myself and my team members, it was always complaints about brands not supporting. And brands are not looking at esports. And we discovered that people are doing it the wrong way because they don't even themselves create a product they can buy into. If I were, which we're doing at the moment, I was even going to say, if I were to buy into, we're buying into it because we invest our time and invest our money into our competitions and to drive it on in the media. It's on radio. We push it on social media with influencers. So we believe in it. And that's why we're putting that before we even get sponsorship in and promote it. And we put in our time. So believe in your product. Create a product you can believe in. That's the only way you can sell it as a marketer. If you don't believe in your product, you cannot convince another person to buy into it. It's just natural. It's just natural sense. If you can't buy your own product, why would another person want to buy it? And that's one. On the second bit, give brands value and they would come rushing for you. Most people expect that sponsorship is just about getting the money off the brand. So sponsor our stuff, sponsor our package. But the truth is, beyond them sponsoring, let them be able to see value. And value doesn't necessarily mean ROI in terms of, immediate return on investment. It can be brand equity. It can be a kind of awareness they've never seen or gotten anywhere else before. Or you opening them up to a form of activation, which they've never done before. So it's very key. Those two, I believe, are very important if you were to become a marketer in sports.
Fantastic. Oh, that's so great. All right. So Shaya, I believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures. So when you get smacked in the face, you have to figure out what happened, right? And then you learn from the mistake and you move forward. So I want to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life? And what did you learn from it?
This will be something I rarely talk about. So it's not totally exclusive, but so many people don't know because I've not talked about this in years. So my biggest failure would be my first degree in law because I didn't do well. Let me not say what I came out of school with. But like you said, I learned from it because I said to myself, you were a brilliant lad in primary school, you were a brilliant lad in high school. What happened in college, in the university? That was what I said to myself. So I needed to prove a point, not just to myself, but to every other person who saw what happened to me in the university and felt like, did you lose focus because you were into the media and you felt you were not going to practice in law? And I said, no, it wasn't about that. I wasn't just, the system had issues, was my biggest defense. But who would you tell that? Because there were other people who did well in the same system. So yes, that was my biggest failure. And I bounced back by going to law school and doing well in law school. That was the only way I could prove that that particular system had a default. Law school, which everyone you can ask, I'd always complained about as being difficult and all that, was easy peasy for me. And I came out in law school, flying. So it was the biggest failure, but it turned out to give me the biggest success at the end of the day when I came out and was called to the Nigerian bar.
I love it. Can I ask? Yeah. So I was exactly the same way. Like law school, I flew through it. Everybody else was staying up late, studying. And I'm sitting there playing video games. I like to liken it I like to say that I learned the law and they learned the bullet points. Does
Okay.
that resonate
Looks
with
like
you?
it. True.
Yeah.
Exactly. True. True.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what it is. Because the truth is, people were academic about the law, so that's the bullet points. But you were street smart with it, and that's why I tell people. I said I didn't need to be brilliant. I only needed to be intelligent to finish well in law school, and that was exactly what I did.
I love it. All right. So Sayo, what are you working to improve on in yourself today?
Like what I said before, networking, key for me.
That's still
Um, I've met you now. And I want to keep, maybe just bump on you on LinkedIn every 5 days. If you say I'm not bothering you, and say hi, how you doing? Just keep the network so that if you see, for example, it may not be just only about opportunities, but hey, that's the biggest need for me right now. But if you see opportunities, you can think and say, oh, there's someone I know in Nigeria, and let me push it this let me push this his way. And that's it with Anand and I, Andy, I mean, um, ran the club, and I get to communicate like every other week. So, you know, keep the line open, so that for me is very key. And in esports, I've been able to actually maintain that, especially with development partners and some of the other things I'm doing. And that's because I've been burnt in sports media and marketing. That's the traditional sport. I don't want to bungle it with esports because I know networking is key, very, very
absolutely.
key, especially with esports.
No, for sure. You please feel free to reach out to me whenever. Like
I
you're
sure
fun.
will. I sure will.
All right. I got one more kind of fun question to wrap this up, and then we'll kind of like bring this in for a landing. But what do you consider is something that other people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
People think I'd say people think I'm a snob. People think I'm an introvert. And it stems from the fact that I'm not outgoing. I'm not the outgoing type. I love my space. And that's why I said I can switch that's why my weird level is 5, just in between, because I can switch either ways. I can decide to be indoor by myself. Just give me my laptop, give me internet, and give me a phone. If I have those 3 things, and give me power. If I have those 3 things, I'm good. I can be by myself for years. I can say that because I remember when I was courting my wife, I stayed alone, and she usually come and see me before we got married, and would say, "So you've been in this house for hours by yourself, without anybody coming to visit you, and no friends?" I say yes, and she's just shocked. And that's me. That's the way I am. So people mistake it for being, oh, he's full of himself, he's arrogant, he's snobbish. But no, when they get to meet me and get to know me, they know that I really love to talk, especially if you are someone who is sound and savvy. Then we would have a very, very intelligent conversation, and we'll be able to, create ideas. Because for me, I create ideas. I know how many things I've created, and over 60-70% of them have seen the light of day. So that is the way I roll. I don't just want to waste my time. Let's be able to make something meaningful out of it. So even when we're gaming, we're talking ideas. Even when we're having fun, we're talking ideas and creating stuff. Because hey, time waits for no one, and we need to maximize it.
That is so awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Shayo, this has been a fantastic interview. How do people find you? How do they reach out to the Lagos Esports Forum? How do they reach out to you?
Yeah.
Where are you at on social media?
Yes, for me, my personal, I'll give Twitter and Instagram at Sayo Owolabi. That's SAYO Owolabi. That's Sayo at Sayo Owolabi on Twitter and Instagram. And for the Lagos Esports Forum, at Lagos Esports on Twitter, and on Instagram at Lagos Esports Forum. You'll find us there. And of
Beautiful.
course, I'm on LinkedIn also if anyone wants to connect, especially for business.
Absolutely. That's how we reached out. That's right. Okay. Now, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
Yes. Well, that will be about Africa and esports. I believe in my role as the senior advisor for Africa to the Esports World Federation, and also with our organization being a member of the Global Esports Federation. Africa needs an accelerator at the moment. We know what we can achieve, we know what we can do, and we're not coming cap in hand to beg. And when I say accelerators, I mean partners in progress. We're not coming to just beg for grants or for funds or for investment, but we want people who would at the same time see themselves in the business, see themselves in whatever we're doing. So it's not just about putting money and saying, oh, we're expecting ROI. Let's open us up to networks, open us up to opportunities, open us up to initiatives and ideas we can use to drive our ecosystem. So that's the state Africa is at the moment, and that's the way we want the world to see it. There are abounding opportunities in Africa. And I'm here crossing my fingers and waiting for that one person, either an individual or a group of people who will take the plunge. I remember how it happened with telcos. I remember how it happened with fintechs. And I remember how it happened with every other, things in the ecosystem of the technology, biotech, medtech, and all that. And that's the state that esports is at the moment. Just an accelerator would ignite the fire because there are gamers who are ready. There are organizations who are ready to actually delve into it and create the ecosystem bigger than whatever space we're playing at the moment. And if we get the opportunity with a partner in progress, I must say, a partner in progress, not just an investor, not just a venture capitalist, not just people who will give grants, we will be able to drive African esports to the next level.
Fantastic. All right. Let me get your name one more time. Sayo Owolabi. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much, Bradford. It's been a fantastic one. I must commend you for the great job you're doing with the gamerpreneur. Like I said, I ran into it a few months. That should be months now when Andy came on the show. It's a great one. You're opening people up, especially organizations that are just starting up, to people to see what they're doing, and that's quite commendable from you. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. I do genuinely appreciate you coming on with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.